idea for the beginning of this video, and it's some footage of me bringing the car to Texas about 5 months ago. And I was going to say, well, for you guys it's only going to be a few seconds, but for me it's going to be 5 months, and it'd be like... But I seem to have lost that footage. I don't know how, but I did. Also, to explain why I don't really do any heavy builds right now, here's a clip I worked on.
When I was 20, I bought my first newish car, a used 2005 S197 with 16,000 miles. After several years, the only mods I did was a CNL, a cold air intake, and a 91 tune. Other than that, I installed a pair of Borla axle backs and had a massive cowl hood painted to match. I don't know, because I thought it looked cool, I guess. I rocked it like this for about 8 more years until around 2015, when I decided to register for my first track day at Willow Springs International Raceway. 2 things happened that day. 1, I was hooked. But 2, I was humbled. With the intake and tune, I was only making around 275 horsepower to the wheel. And while that was decent at that time, I quickly learned the power alone meant diddly at a track. I think I was legitimately passed by every other car out there that day. But again, I was hooked and accepted the challenge. I quickly went to work. I bought a set of Eibach lowering springs, adjustable Coney
adjustables,
shocks and struts, and some used front rotors with 4-piston front calipers from a same-gen GT500. I also went ahead and snagged a set of NT01s, and wow, the difference was night and day. Over the years, the car evolved and was quickly becoming more competitive. A couple years later, I decided to register for an event I kept hearing about called Optima Search for the Ultimate Street Car. Yes, wheel lettering was a thing back then. The only Optima event I competed in took place at Auto Club Speedway, which is sadly no more. At this point, I had a Vortex supercharger installed with an air-to-air intercooler, drilled in some hood vents, more suspension work, a little more aero pieces, and as wide of wheels as I could fit. But again, that day, I was humbled. I didn't finish dead last, but definitely bottom of the pack of around 75 cars. I had a lot more work to do. After a couple more years of racing local events, the car was approaching around 120,000 miles. It began to struggle with some overheating issues, and eventually had a rocker on brake causing damage to one of the cam lobes. Also, for some reason, my supercharger started to make this sound. Which turned out to need to be rebuilt. So I decided to go ahead and have the whole motor rebuilt. So out came the motor and sent to a performance shop. There they would machine the block, install forged internals, including forged pistons, H-beam rods, ARP head studs, bullet race cams, and a forged Cobra crankshaft. However, as mentioned in my short bio as a massive medical scare, ultimately pushing me to make this channel, was from spring of 2019. I was diagnosed with stage 4 metastatic melanoma of the organs. This put everything on my life on hold and took years to recover from. 2 months in the hospital, which included several weeks in the ICU, doctors said it was a miracle I survived. Now I'd like to mention that before this, I loved to weightlift and was big into fitness and health. But cancer does not discriminate. It was ultimately my faith in God and my family's support that got me through it, along with being in really good shape and the fact that I don't give up very easily, which brings me back to my love for cars and racing. I got better, and my S197 was back together. So in 2022, I decided to try Optima again. Now my car had a built motor, supercharged still, and putting out a respectable 500 wheel horsepower. The motor was capable of more, but I wanted to keep it on a safe tune at low boost so I could essentially hot lap the car. Also, I went to work on cooling. Installed a Mishimoto oil cooler, power steering cooler, a Ford Racing cooling fan, and larger, lighter rotors. I decided to go all out and install BMR's K-member, a custom diffuser, custom rear spoiler, carbon fiber hood, and had a buddy of mine install a built transmission with a transmission cooler, a one-piece aluminum drive shaft, Cortex's Watts link, long tube headers, and a badass pair of DMH cutouts. This thing sounded like a NASCAR. she was as ready as I can get her, and after racing for most of the season, including 2 Optima events at both Sonoma and Utah Motorsports Campus, I seemed to be around mid-pack. The car was running great, but I realized I was still nowhere near the top guys in my class. Me being out of the scene for a few years, I came back to notice cars like the Z01 1LE with its stock 650 horsepower weighing a little over 3,800 pounds, and the GT350 and 350Rs with the R versions also weighing in around 3,800 pounds, if not less. Not to mention many of these were heavily modified. They were dominating, and my little 4.63 valve, though built, just couldn't keep up. Mid-2022, I had a decision to make. I could continue spending money on my 3-valve, which there really wasn't a whole lot more I could do aside from gutting the car and going full race car. But to be honest, I didn't want to turn this car into just another gutted track car that is now only usable at the track. I still prefer to keep the essence, use it to drive on the street, go to car shows, etc. I finished the 2022 season and pushed the car to the max. However, I am very competitive and wanted something that can compete at the top levels. So I made the tough decision to sell my 05 and buy a newer, more modern platform. Thus, my 2019 S550. I instantly began doing a ton of research and started buying all the parts I could afford. Again, I want to mention I don't mind working on cars, but because of the cancer, tackling a huge project like this, essentially transforming an entire car into a track weapon, was just above my capability. I contacted a buddy of mine who has more car knowledge than anyone I know, and he said he would build the car for me. So I brought it to him, and Coyote Track Car Phase 1 was on its way. Interestingly, he immediately diagnosed the car, and it turned out the motor had a few issues that warranted a block replacement. So we were able to get a fresh block. He then put on a pair of coated long tube headers. The transmission we decided to go with was a Calamers built Stage 2 MT82. We opted for a Mantic clutch with an MGW shifter. Also, a one-piece aluminum drive shaft, brand new entire exhaust system from Ford, and a T2R Torsen diff. Next, he installed MCS's double adjustable coilovers with MMR camber plates. Massive gyro disc rotors all around with 6-piston Brembo calipers in the front and all stainless steel brake lines. Cooling is always a major factor when dealing with a track car, so we chose a Fluidine aluminum radiator and a Mishimoto oil cooler. For the exterior and aero, my buddy custom made the front splitter. Bolted on a carbon fiber hood I sent him with built-in vents, APR's GTC 200 wing, and a custom piece I have been working on for some time. I found a fellow veteran who airbrushes. We worked together to come up with this design, and he was able to airbrush it on my trunk lid panel for me. I have always wanted a unique way to show my appreciation on my track car to fellow veterans and those who are currently serving, and I think it came out great. Later on, a different friend of mine and I installed these carbon fiber doors, and I'll explain the different wing in a few minutes. For the interior, I chose Cobra racing seats, Watson's S550 roll cage and backseat delete kit, and Autometer's Silver Spec Pro Series gauges. I chose these gauges because I wanted them to match the dash and also in an attempt to make them look almost factory. I basically drove the car around the block, loaded it up, and headed straight to the track. In the start of the 2023 season, right away I was confident in the car and was already starting to accomplish some PBs. For Optima, I competed at both Laguna Seca and PIR for the first time. For Laguna Seca, I found out my wing was too large for the class I was competing in, and that is why for this event I had to remove it. Later, I bought Anderson Composites GT500 Track Pack wing, which abided by the wing regulations. I was now not too far off the faster half of the pack. The car can turn and brake just about as good as anyone. However, after this season, I again found myself humbled. On the straights, I was getting demolished. My NA Coyote was making roughly 425-ish horsepower to the wheel, but I was going up against some cars with almost double that. So I knew she needed more power. This brings us up to speed to Phase 2. Phase 2 consists of Hellion's 62mm twin-turbo sleeper kit. We also opted for Steeda's lightweight K-member. I called my buddy back up. Since he knows the car so well, he was down to install the kit and talked to me into the sleeper kit because of cooling. Cooling was going to be the biggest difficulty to overcome, as any boosted application is involved, especially in road racing where sessions could last up to 20 minutes at a time. We need to discuss a plan of attack. He highly recommended the upgraded 6-inch intercooler. We also upgraded the oil cooler to a SitRev 600 series and used the previous Mishimoto oil cooler as an auxiliary radiator in essence. Everything actually fit, but just. Once the turbo kit and cooling components were installed, my buddy spent countless hours creating methods of directing the air hitting the front of the car. He also heat wrapped and sleeved everything with DEI products. Also in phase 2, I wanted to focus on improving a few other areas to include weight and aero. I ordered a custom set of Lightspeed's 19x11 Mag Plus wheels. These are an aluminum-based alloy with magnesium mixed. These Mag Plus wheels are lighter and stronger than normal forged aluminum, but not as light as full magnesium. I would have preferred to go with full magnesium or maybe even carbon fiber, but the prices of those wheels are just out of my reach. But these are still going to weigh much less per wheel, reducing some unsprung weight. Lastly, I ordered a very aggressive and expensive diffuser from Archetype. I'm so sorry if I'm pronouncing that incorrectly, guys. I am told this will pull an enormous amount of AOA out of any wing. Since I'm limited on my rear wing size for Optima, I really feel like this diffuser is going to help out quite a bit. One last stop to pick up my new custom enclosed trailer, and I was ready to pick up my now twin-turbo Coyote track car. When I arrived to my buddy's to pick up the car, he removed the bumper and splitter to show off his work. That night we finished a few things and the next day headed to MSR Houston for some testing. Now my original plan was to take some recordings of our progress of testing and tuning, but things just did not go as planned. I'll explain shortly, but needless to say I was extremely tired, frustrated, and the budget for this project was completely gone. I packed up the car and headed home. And to add some insult to injury, I quickly noticed what my TRX's gas mileage was looking like as I began towing this enclosed 22-foot trailer as compared to my previous open 18-foot Featherlight. Oh man. Other than that, TRX towed like a champ.
Well, I got her home. I took a few weeks off after I brought the car home because it's just like one thing after another. Once my buddy finished the twin turbo kit, he contacted the tuner. Now, when you buy a Hellion kit, you get I believe it's 1 year of tuning assistance. And I'm not going to mention the tuner that they use, but I will mention their initials, PBD. Now, we contacted them, asking them for a base tune, I believe. Basically, we gave them all the information on the car. Now, the problem is you can't call them. Everything's through email. So my buddy sent an email to PBD about all the details of the car, including 95-pound injectors. This whole back and forth email stuff is stupid. It's stupid. 2 or 3 days of dealing with PBD and the revisions because I kept getting texts and calls from my buddy saying the car's just not running right. I've double-checked everything, triple-checked everything. It's not idling right, and then once I get to idle, it dies. And I'm thinking, like, did they compensate for the 95-pound injectors? Well, originally they didn't. So finally they did, and all of a sudden, miraculously, the car ran great. And my buddy sent me the email traffic, like 3 emails, and on the 3rd email was like bold 95-pound injectors. Now, this took days for them to update that tune. Like, they were so lackadaisical through, it took over a week of going back and forth with these guys to get this car to just run right on, I think, wastegate only. It was wastegate only. We didn't even turn up the boost.
So my buddy recommended we try this performance shop he's heard of called Bombera's Performance. They work with Rob Shoemaker and were not only able to tune the car correctly, but also dyno it as well.
So another problem is PBD originally recommended a 3-pound wastegate spring. With a small spring like that, we were only able to up the boost to 5 pounds. So the car's only making, I think, 570-ish horsepower to the wheel. So for now, 570 is still like 140, 150 more to the wheel than what it was before the turbo kit. So it's got a lot more power, but it's nowhere near what it's capable of. And the amount of money I spent on this kit and the labor to get it installed, I wanted like $750 to the wheel. So I ordered 5-pound springs because I'm new to this turbo setup. If I understand it right, you have 2 turbos, whatever spring rate you're at. For instance, if I have a 5-pound springs, I can increase to 10 pounds of boost. So 10 pounds should get me to 650, 7 to the wheel.
Well, enough about that. At MSR, my buddy and I swapped cars, and I got to experience his ZL1 1LE. I only drove his car once on the street, never on a track. Nor have I ever raced at MSR. All I have to say is wow. You ZL1 1LE guys out there are driving cheat codes. After 3 laps on a track I've never been on, I was already passing everyone. The car ran and performed amazing. My GT350 performs as well, but the ZL1 has more power. Then, next session, I climbed into my Coyote and spun out into the Everglades on lap 2.
Yeah, I didn't just spin out in the fields. I mean, there was mud just especially caked in the front. And what's funny about this is my buddy said, hey, you know, the turbos are, since they're underneath the car, you've got filters, but you don't have filter socks. So don't get the car wet. I said, you got it. Now I want to add 8, 9, 10 years I've been racing off and on. I've never spun out. Never spun out before. I've gone off at Chuckwilla, but I basically just kind of overshot a turn, went into the dirt, and then got out. I've never spun out at a road course. And what worries me, and there was no warning. Now my buddy's ZL1, I could feel the rear end kind of telling me, okay, hey, easy, easy. It warned me. This car, there's no warning. It just shot me out. So for people that know Mustangs, well, everybody I think knows Mustangs, they're notoriously squirrely in the rear end. Yeah, then I go to my first Optima event at Thunder Hill, and on day 1, this connector right here popped off, like on the road course. So oil, now this is part of, I believe, an oil return line to lubricate the turbo bearings. And what I found out is, I guess my buddy that installed this kit damaged, you got to remove the neck here, and he damaged the little tabs inside. So this is supposed to turn and click into place. It doesn't do that. So it just vibrated off, but oil just went all over this side of the motor bay, all over the motor, through the vents, on the windshield, all over the bottom of the car, all over the racetrack. It basically ruined the whole day because I spent most of the day cleaning up the oil. And the problem is I can't just order a new connector. I swapped out for a new O-ring. I'd have to get a whole new valve cover and then try to take out that piece on my own without damaging the pins or the tabs. Yeah, I'm not doing that. This seems to work. I think it'll work. Also, the car was throwing me a check engine light, which we found out later on because of PBD's crappy tunes originally. We think that they fouled up the upstream O2s because it was giving me O2 codes. So bought new O2s, which aren't cheap, swapped those out, had to re-sleeve them, which I didn't do it right the first time. The sleeve melted, so I had to re-sleeve them. And at the end of the second day, came in early, and then this is the sound the car started to make. The noise I thought was going to be the turbos. I didn't even think it could be anything else. But my buddy's like, you know what? I think it's the starter. I think maybe because it's so close to that passenger side turbo, it's just got hot and it's failing. So we had to remove the turbo to get to the starter, swap out for supposedly a stronger, better starter, and we used like a DEI heat sleeve or heat shield over it. So basically after pouting and frustration for a couple weeks, I ordered a few parts to get the car kind of under control. It's the nature of the beast. The more you change with these cars, the more growing pains you're going to have. But I think she's good to go. I think she's good. Now, there's a few things I want to do. I didn't film all that because it's not really particularly entertaining, but I do want to film installing the underbody kit. And then I have some side skirts I ordered. Now, will those do anything? I mean, I don't know, probably not. But I think the front aero, the rear aero, the underbody kit, and the diffuser, I think it'll be fine. I also ordered some bushings. Now these bushings are, one's going to be for the diff, one's going to be for the subframe. My buddy was recommending these kits because we think Mustang's rear ends are soft. So I think solid bushings in the rear end, the car's going to be able to communicate with me better, and I'm not going to go spinning off into the fields, which was a blast. That wasn't fun at all. That sucked. That really sucked. God, I can't believe I did that, man. I'm going to film installing this and the diffuser, which I still haven't got. I don't know what has taken so long. I ordered that sucker in December. Right now it's middle of April. And the reason I'm frustrated is because I really think it's going to be the last piece to the puzzle. Since I have to use this kind of smaller wing for my class in Optima, a lot of guys run very aggressive diffusers. And I emailed the guys, I'm going to compete soon in Laguna Seca, Road America. Please, is there any way I can expedite this product? So they said they're on it. I just hope it gets here soon. So real quick, go over the whiteboard here. Turbo kit is in. My forged magnesium wheels. I want to ceramic coat those. So, and being a track car, I mean, you could look at how much abuse these track wheels get. They just get, they get beat up. So I'm not going to cross that out yet. Diffuser, who knows. Got the fender vents in. Now the seats I swapped. Swap. Has that been misspelled the whole time? Oh my gosh, I'm such an idiot. Swapped. Decided not to replace them. So the reason I didn't replace them is because when I originally ordered these seats, I was a lot thinner because of the cancer. Cancer sucks, by the way. That seat was originally over here, and that seat is normal size. This one here is a lot thinner. 5 passengers, nobody can fit in the seat but me. I basically just swapped them. Seats, good to go. Brakes, I had a buddy come and help me. We flushed the brake fluid, changed out the pads, fixed the O2 sensor sleeves, connectors double knotted. Good there. And then lastly, once the 5-pound springs come in, hopefully turn up the boost. But yeah, because of the cancer, I can't do, crazy motor swaps or anything like that. I'd like to have a Chris Sullivan garage someday, have a lift, and then absolutely. But, I can at least do stuff like this, so. Alright, so enough jabbering. Let's get this kid on it. Okay, the flat underbody kit is installed, both sides. Came out okay. Had to alter quite a bit to the passenger side here, and I'll show you why. And unfortunately, I couldn't use these. This is the fender evacuation kit, and I was thinking about having to cut them up, but honestly, I would have had to cut these up so much where, I couldn't even really use them. But let me show you why. The intercooler piping and the cane member it was all just in the way. Those evacuation kits go right here, so I would have had to really cut them up. And these little guys came in, so bolted those on real quick. Alright, well anyway, before I ceramic coat my new magnesium wheels, let's go for a drive. And also, to see if all this stuff I just put on falls off, Every driveway. Race car lifestyle. So, I really do enjoy driving this car on the street. I don't do it too often, but I really like it. It's a little stiff. I don't think I could drive this thing more than a few hours, but it's not bad. These Cobra seats are nice. I was a little hesitant at first, but I really like them. The clutch feels great when you're moving. It chatters a lot when you're in first or at a stop and you start to move. It's every time it chatters so much no matter what I do, but it's an aggressive setup, so I get it. Once you're moving, downshifts, upshifts, it's like butter. It's so easy and it's crisp. I love the feeling. I also like how the exhaust sounds. It's not loud, there's no drone. When you get on it, it opens up in track mode, gets a little louder. So you can hear it when you get on it, but if you're just cruising, it's quiet. I mean, I got the windows rolled down, but check it out. Roll the windows up, barely hear anything. Temps are good. Air fuel looks good. Go for a pull here. Pull. Now I got the windows up. Definitely got a lot more power now, but still not at the level that I want. My goal is 650, 700, maybe even 750 to the wheels. So we're only on 5 pounds of boost right now. Got a lot more room to go. So here's my magnesium wheels, and I cannot wait to get those on. But first, I'm gonna wash them, gonna wash the car, because I've also been waiting like a good year to polish this thing. I'm going to attempt to ceramic coat these wheels. Gonna give it a shot. Can anyone say swirlies? It's like a spider web. Phew, already looking a ton better. I don't know why I was using my smaller pad. So I was using the smaller pad around these areas like this because it just makes sense, right? But I don't know why I was using it here and trying not to touch the carbon hood. I'm gonna wax the hood too. So I'm sitting here trying to wax this section, like don't touch the carbon. I'm gonna wax the whole thing, so I don't know why I did that. Track cars, they'll make you go nuts. By the way, a quick little side note, for those of you who track, or even if you don't, and you get this stuff, usually on the side of your car, on the front, this stuff works amazing. Doesn't hurt your paint. So you just spray a little on a rag, or microfiber, do a microfiber, and you just wipe it. It just comes off. Like any little, I'm not sure what to call it, it's like rubber flown at your car. You know, the track, other guys' tires. so the Coyote is about as ready as I can get her. So now the question is, will she work and not give me any headaches? I don't know. About to head off to Laguna Seca, and then right after that, Road America. This video is starting to get a little long, so I figure video 2, the Coyote, will include all the fun track stuff. So appreciate everybody watching, and God bless.